I'm at an auto camp on Route 66, just west of Gallup, New Mexico. If I tell it, perhaps it'll help me, keep me from going crazy. I gotta tell this quickly. I'm not crazy now. I'm feeling perfectly well, except that I'm running a slight temperature. My name is Ronald Adams. I'm 36 years of age, unmarried, tall, dark, with a black mustache. I drive a 1940 Buick, license number 6Y17589. I was born in Brooklyn. All this I know. I know now that I'm at this moment perfectly sane. But it's not me who's gone mad. Something else. Something utterly beyond my control. I gotta speak quickly. In any minute the link may break. This may be the last thing I ever tell on earth. The last night I ever see the stars. I was in fine spirits. The drive ahead of me, even the loneliness, seemed like a lark. I reckoned without him. Crossing Brooklyn Bridge that morning in the rain, I saw a man leaning against the cables. He seemed to be waiting for a lift. There were spots of fresh rain on his shoulders. He was carrying a cheap overnight bag in one hand. He was thin, nondescript, with a cap fall down over his eyes. I would have forgotten him completely, except that just an hour later, while crossing the Pulaski Skyway over the Jersey Flats, I saw him again. At least, he looked like the same person. He was standing now with one thumb pointing west. I couldn't figure out how he got there, but I thought, probably one of those fast trucks that picked him up, beat me to the Skyway and let him off. I hadn't stopped for him. And late that night, I saw him again. It was on the new Pennsylvania Turnpike between Harrisburg and Pittsburgh. It's 265 miles long with a very high speed limit. I was just slowing down for one of the tunnels when I saw him, standing under an arc light by the side of the road. It seemed quite distinct to me. The bag, the cap, even the spots of fresh rain was over his shoulders. He hallooed me this time. "Hello! Hello!" Stepped on the gas like a shot. It was lonely country in the Alleghenies, and I had no intention of stopping. Besides, the coincidences of whatever it was gave me the willies. I stopped at the next gas station. "Yes, sir." A feller up. "Certainly, sir. Check your oil, sir?" "No, thanks." "Nice night, isn't it?" Yes, it hasn't rained here recently, hasn't? Not a drop of rain all week." "Oh? Well, I suppose it doesn't do your business any harm." "Oh, people drive through here all kinds of weather. Mostly business, you know. There aren't that many pleasure cars out on the turnpike this season of the year, I suppose not. But, what about hitchhikers?" "Hitchhikers here?" "What's the matter? Don't you ever see any?" "Not much. If we did, it'd be a sight for sore eyes." "Why?" "Well, a guy'd be a fool to start hitch-out rides on this road. Look at it." "Then you've never seen anybody?" "No, maybe they get the lift before the turnpike starts, you know, just before the toll house. But then it'd be a mighty long ride. Most cars wouldn't want to pick up a guy for that long a ride. And you know, this is pretty lonesome country here. Mountains and woods." "You ain't seen anybody like that, have you?" No, not at all. It's just a technical question." "I see. Well, that'll be just $1.49, sir, with the tax." The thing gradually passed through my mind as sheer coincidence. I had a good night's sleep in Pittsburgh. I didn't think about the man all next day until just outside of Zanesville, Ohio, I saw him again. It was a bright, sunshiny afternoon, the peaceful Ohio fields brown with the autumn stubble laid, gleaming in the golden light. I was driving slowly, drinking it all in. Then the road suddenly ended in a detour in front of the barrier. He was standing. Now let me explain about his appearance before I go on. I repeat, there was nothing sinister about him. He was as drab as a mud fence, nor was his attitude menacing. He merely stood there, waiting, almost drooping a little with a cheap overnight bag in his hand. He looked as though he had been waiting there for hours. When he looked up, he hailed me. He started to walk forward. Hello? 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 No, not just now, sorry. Going to California? No, not today. The other way, going to New York, sorry. Maybe I should have spoken to him, fought him out then and there. But now he began to be everywhere. Wherever I stopped for a moment, for gas, for oil, for a drink of pop, a cup of coffee, sandwich, he was there. I saw him at the auto camp in Amarillo that night when I dared to slow down. At the drinking fountain of a little camping spot just inside the border of New Mexico. He was waiting for me outside the Navajo reservation where I stopped to check my tires. I saw him in Albuquerque when I bought 20 gallons of gas. I was afraid to stop now. I began to drive faster and faster. I was in lunar landscape now. The great arid mesa country of New Mexico. I drove through it with the indifference of a fly driving over the face of the moon. As I drove at 85 miles an hour over those endless roads, he waited for me at every other mile. I see his figure, shadowless, flittering before me, still in the same attitude over the cold, lifeless ground. Flittering over dried-up rivers, over broken stones cast up by old glacial upheavals. Flittering in that pure, cloudless air. I was beside myself when I finally reached Gallup, New Mexico this morning. There's an auto camp here. Cold, almost deserted this time of year. I had the feeling, after I went inside and asked, there was a telephone. Had the feeling if only I could speak to someone I loved, I could pull myself together. I've heard somewhere that love could vanish demons. It was the middle of the morning. I knew Mother would be home. I pictured her tall white hair and her crisp house dress going about her tasks. It'd be enough, I thought, just to hear the even calmness of her voice. Your call, please. Long distance. Long distance, certainly. Yes, I'd like to put in a call to my home in Brooklyn, New York. I'm Ronald Adams. The number is Beechwood 20828. Certainly, I will try to get it for you. Ready with Brooklyn. Go ahead, please. Hello? This is Mrs. Adams' residence. Hello, Mother? Mother? This is Mrs. Adams' residence. Who is it you wish to speak to, please? Well, who's this? This is Mrs. Swinney. Mrs. Swinney? I don't know any Mrs. Swinney. Is this Beechwood 20828? Yes. But where's my mother? Where's Mrs. Adams? Mrs. Adams is not at home. She's still in the hospital. Hospital? Yes. Who is this calling, please? Is it a member of the family? What's she in the hospital for? She's been prostrated for 5 days. Nervous breakdown. But who is it? Nervous breakdown? My mother never was nervous. It's all taken place since the death of her oldest son, Ronald. Death of her oldest son, Ronald? Who is this? What number is this? This was Beechwood 20828. It's all been very sudden. He was killed just 6 days ago in an automobile accident on the Brooklyn Bridge. So now I'm sitting in this deserted auto camp in Gallup, New Mexico. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to get hold of myself. Otherwise, I'm going to go crazy. Outside it's night. The vast, soulless night of New Mexico. 1,000,000 stars are in the sky. Ahead of me stretch 1,000 miles of empty mesa, mountains, prairies, desert. Somewhere among them, he's waiting for me. Somewhere I shall know who he is and who I am.